Just check this for the 8,000th time. No. Welcome, welcome. Happy Monday. Okay. Chill. So, right before I went live, I had the cat out here because I was like, oh, maybe he can make an appearance tonight. Nope. He got into mischief and was like burrowing himself back behind my table, and I'm like, there's spiders and bugs and I don't know what else. So I had to pull out a bunch of stuff to get him to come out, and something was just sliding down over there. So yeah, happy Monday. Welcome to tonight's stream. I was doing a little bit of research on egg tempera today, but it was a little bit scattered, so I don't have a whole lot to share about it. But I do have the egg tempera I made like 3 weeks ago. It's been sitting in my fridge, and I figured we could do an experiment and see if it smells. What an experiment. I was just curious like how long it would last in the fridge, because I was looking back at, oh yeah, I didn't like actually update you guys. I have something somewhere. So my old, I don't want to say old, my professor from OSU who, by old, I don't mean like elderly, I mean like old as in like used to be my professor at OSU. Her name's Julie Green. She does a lot of egg, well, I don't know how much egg tempera she does now, but I know that she has a egg tempera demo on her website, and this PDF of kind of instructions and a recipe to follow that her husband had come up with. So, and it was the one that I was trying to follow in the stream from like 3 weeks ago, if you were here for that. Maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't remember when I did it, but I couldn't remember the exact ratio of things. So basically his recipe, his name is Clay Lohman. It's 1 egg yolk, 2 drops of non-drying oil such as walnut, sunflower, safflower, or linseed, and then a few drops of water. Mix well with a brush, and then mix the egg medium that you just mixed at a 1-to-1 ratio with your tube watercolors. So that's the like kind of like pasty watercolors, not the pigment stuff. What else? I feel like there was something else about that. If you want to do a white surface, you can either apply a thin coat of white egg oil emulsion, or you can make a traditional gesso, which is rabbit skin glue, gypsum, marble dust, and titanium dioxide, which I'm not going through that elaborate of a thing. I'm probably just going to do just paint directly on the board. I probably won't even do like a white background. What else? Oh yeah, and it says discard after 24 hours. So that's why I was curious, like, I'm assuming the integrity of it breaks down after a while, but not only that, but like odor wise. And that's the other thing I did wrong. I was like, why is this so yellow looking while I was mixing it? It's because it's supposed to be a 1-to-1 ratio of the egg yolk and pigment. So I was like I probably wasted some pigment, but I mean, I knew I was wasting it anyway because I wasn't gonna paint with it that night. So yeah, this should have been discarded like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I didn't do it right, but we knew that when it was happening. So I'm just gonna I did take a little bit of a sniff when I was inside because I was like, I don't want to take this out there if it's gonna be rancid, and it didn't like have a overpowering smell, but I mean, it smells like old egg. I don't know if you can see it. It's definitely like a dark blue, which is what the pigment's supposed to be, but it's probably a lot more dilute if I were to paint that than it should be. Yeah, so I wanted to carry on with this series. I think I mentioned that I want to do a depiction of an emulsion, and one of the things I found interesting when I was in college was learning about just basic chemistry. So I think it's interesting, like when they depict the atoms and molecules and stuff as like spheres, but then when you think about like a nucleus and then a electron cloud, I just envision it being more of like a fluffy, fuzzy figure rather than like a firm globe. So I want to kind of try to depict the molecules that I'm depicting as more of like a fuzzy figure rather than something solid. So that's what I'm going for, and I'm just, right now I have my sketch pad out and I was just starting to draw out a layout, because what I'm struggling with is, so when you have an emulsion, you have these kind of like, you have the droplets, and so there's the membrane of the droplet is molecules that have one end of, they're like, kind of picture them like a stick, and one end of them likes oil and one end of them likes water. So it forms like a membrane, and depending on what type of emulsion you have, whether you have an oil in water emulsion or a water in oil emulsion, the droplets will either be holding the water or they'll be holding the oil. So the sticks face different ways depending. And so I'm not going to depict the globule. I'm going to depict if you were to cut the globule in half and just see like a cross section of it, which is a lot of what textbooks show. They show I guess I brought textbooks out, but I didn't open anything up. Let's see if either of these, I couldn't remember which one had the pictures that I'm envisioning, but I have biochemistry and I have my advanced human nutrition book. Also, it was like 70 degrees and I'm like hot. I'm drinking tea, by the way. Tink. Tonight it is I looked up the name of it around the package because I was like, what the hell is this called? I think it was like nutty almond cream. I'm like, cool name. So yeah, tea tonight. Where are we? Should I just flip through and find a picture? That's real efficient, Sarah. All right, let's look. So yeah, I thought tonight I could do a little sketching to kind of lay out what I want to do, and then mix a new batch of egg tempera correctly this time, and then maybe do the first coat of paint. Before I hopped on here, I sanded the board down because I still hadn't done it from 3 weeks ago. All right, what am I looking for? I don't know if it's gonna be in this one. I'm trying to remember. I'm just like I'm kind of debating whether I should keep doing these live streams on Monday nights because I'm so tired. And I feel like if I'm low energy, I'm not exactly entertaining. But the only other time that I could do this is a Friday night around the same time because my husband does a Pathfinder game on those nights. god, I'm like brain dead. I'm like, what else is it called if it's not an emulsion? It would probably be in my other book that I didn't bring out. Let's Google it. Okay, this is kind of wow, Sarah, riveting content. All right. For fuck's sake, stop doing that. All right. If you're not familiar, okay, so you see the like cross, it's a cross section, so you can obviously see all of the sticks. Oh no. So ask me a question. I probably won't know the answer to it. Super confident in my ability. Okay, so going to sketch for a little bit. So this is going to be hella boring for you. And I apologize. So I'll aim it down so you can see what the hell I'm doing. Whoops, sorry. Also, I'm wearing the wrong glasses. All right, welcome to my paper. Can I name you 20 actresses? Probably. But also maybe not. All right. Oh God. Let's see. Okay, so Jennifer Lawrence. We'll keep tally. Jennifer Lawrence. This is riveting. Let's see. Angelina Jolie. Oh my God, why am I blanking? Jesus Christ. And since you said actresses, I assume you mean females. Let's see. Who did I say? Jennifer Lawrence and Angelina Jolie. I'm gonna sketch and we'll circle back to that. Holy shit. All right. Fucking hot out here. All right, I'm just like stuck on the fact that I can only think of 2 people off the top of my head. That's where the hell my pencil went. Okay, let me think of like movies that I've actually seen. Or, oh no, I'll think of like, okay, so I'll think of The Office. So you have Jenna Fisher, Angela Kinsey, Rashida Jones, who else is in that? Kate Flannery. What the hell is Phyllis's name in real life? Phyllis. I don't remember her last name. The hell? Who is Jan Levinson Gould? Who is she? Oh my god. Have you left? I'm so sorry. I can't answer this question. What else you got for me? All right. So, what's a good layout here? So I don't want to go too small. And I don't want to have like a bunch of little ones. So that's so much extra shit that I gotta draw. Sometimes layout is the hardest thing. And do I want it to be like perfectly round, or are we assuming that there's some like fluidity to this? And how big of a portion? Do we want them big, or do we want them small? Probably larger. Me being the way that I am, I'm like worried about proportions and stuff and having things look like they would be in real life, and I'm just trying to generally depict this thing. It doesn't need to be perfect. Alright, what do we think? Is that a semi-interesting? That helps no one. I mean, I guess it could work. If we've got our, it's not quite thirds, but I'm gonna go up to there. So that's how big my boards are. I might move this down a little. And I also might straighten this out more because it just seems like a really cropped in section of it. All right. Guess I can do one more just for good measure. But again, I'm going to want them to be and these are not, how is it? I'm so educated on this. So generally it's like this end is the water liking one. So these are going to be water molecules out here. And then this is the lipid liking end. But this is like a fatty acid chain. So there's like little hydrogens on all of these. Assuming that this is, what do you call it? There's no double bonds. But I don't know what the head is. Like, is it like a phospholipid? Like, what is this? What is this? It's not a sphere. It's just kind of depicting that general thing. And then they usually draw this as a wiggly thing or like just a pole. Just to indicate that this is the lipid end. But I don't know, I'm blanking on what this actually looks like. Hello? Do I have any other textbooks out here? don't want to flip through books. Alright, I guess I don't need to get... Okay, well this has a picture. Okay. Alright, so apparently there's 4 types of surfactants. So, there's anionic, non-ionic, cationic, and amphoteric. So which one would I use for eggs? Which one is in eggs? Like if I was depicting the emulsion of an egg yolk. Alright, so I found egg lecithin. It's a little more complicated looking. See, this is the thing, like, whenever you see it depicted in a textbook, it's like you have the little spheres and you have the sticks, or sometimes they'll go like this. And it's like you're simplifying it so much, and then when I see the actual molecule, it looks so much more complicated. That's why I'm like, I hate the way science depicts, or is depicted in textbooks, because it's just not, I don't know. Because when you go and look at the real thing, or, you know, not look at the real thing, but when you try to imagine the real thing, it's very detached from what they depict. And it's not helpful to me. Alright, phosphate. Okay. 172. Or, I don't know. Now I'm like changing my idea. Because I can do that for another one. I was thinking maybe I'd just draw, or not draw, but paint a pancreas. Like just change it up completely. but it looks like there's it's like a phospholipid, but it has two of these rather than just one, and there's a double bond in there somewhere. I also don't know what is this source. Iowa State University. Okay, functionality of egg yolk, lecithin and protein. Functionally enhanced protein by controlled enzymatic hydrolysis. All right, egg yolk, lecithin are mainly composed up of phosphatidylcholine and phosphatidylethanolamine. I don't know how to pronounce that completely. Because it's a good emulsifier, usually believed to be well tolerated, non-toxic in native form. Okay, so do they where's that picture? Okay, so which ones did they say? All right, just assuming that this literature review from Iowa State University is accurate. Also, I don't know how my battery's doing. I hope it's fine. My iPad is not, though. Okay, so egg yolk phospholipids, also known as egg yolk lecithin, mainly composed of phosphatidylcholine, 66 to 76%, and phosphatidylethanolamine. I don't care about the percentage, whatever. Okay, so looking at the molecules, so they have the illustrations. Do they have... Okay, I guess I'll have to do it that way. Wait, what the hell? Okay. It's also backwards from what I'd want to depict. Okay. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. Then we have an O. We've got a double bond and an O. Up, down. Oh no, I'm out of space. Another O. We have our little phosphate thing. Okay, and then coming off of there, one, two, three, four. Double bond, up, double bond, and then 1, 2, 3. Okay, that got fucked up at the end, but whatever. And then this one, so that's this one. This one is, what's different? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we're still going up, down, back, forward. That's the same, I think. Weird. Okay. So usually the just ends like this imply that there's a carbon here and then 3 hydrogens. This is saying that it's just NH3, so there's not that cluster of carbons at the end of this. So I think that's the only difference, because it's an amine group. I don't know. Oh my. It's been a couple years. I'm like, am I sounding like an idiot right now? Like, what the hell? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, everything else is the same. It's just the end. Okay, so clearly it's not as simple as circle and stick. And in this case, these both have 2 chains, one of which is saturated, one of which is unsaturated. And it's not going to go in this like perfect straight line outward. It's going to be all kinked and weird. So I'm like, I have a really hard time picturing what it actually looks like, because it doesn't look like that. I feel like it looks more like that. Something more abstract and not quite so crisp and clear. So I'm just trying to picture, like, how should I actually do this? Like, I don't want to do it atom by atom, because that's just too anal retentive for what I want this piece to be. Nobody wants that. I don't know, I guess I could just do some like painterly shape with like a haze around it, and then have some like sort of depiction of arms coming off of it, one of which will be a bit straighter than the other one. This one's gonna have 2 bends in it. And then, so assuming, okay, so these are both the primary the lecithins in egg yolk. So if they're part of the emulsion, I'm assuming it's going to be kind of like a mishmash of each of them throughout this globule. I'm assuming. This is the part of the project where it started out simple and I just made it too complicated. Like, this is where we started. Then we went here. Then we went here. And now we're here. I get too deep in the weeds and it's like, we're just going for a general feel here. We don't need to like make it all crazy. But I just want to, that's like, for fuck's sake. My chair's all screwy. Stool, rather. I don't like the way things are depicted and I want to do it different. That makes sense to me. Nobody cares. Okay, so this is, I don't know, I don't mind the layout of having it like this and then going this way, but I don't like that I'm creating like a line right down the middle here. So we gotta change that. And I guess the same thing's gonna go for this. Maybe not. I think maybe this size would be better. I think this size. But then again, I'm not doing an actual sphere, but it's still gonna like generally, even if they're fucky looking. That might work. All right, we're gonna go with this. And we're just gonna start with our base coat for today. And I guess we could do our little, oh my god, I'm yawning. This is the most entertaining stream I've done yet. This is why I'm like, should I not do this on Mondays at this time? Maybe I can start it earlier, like do it at 6:30 or something instead of 7:30. Oh my god, where are we even pointing? Hello? Okay. Okay, are you ready for a brand new, never been seen before? I can't even think of words. This is stupid. Alright. We have our yolks. And I can tell from the lighting that this is not kosher. Okay, so if you remember from my last stream, I did the egg yolk on a saucer. I just brought them in a bowl today. Oh, cool. I'm just like a talking not head. So I cracked the egg and then I lower myself. What the hell is wrong with me? Okay, we're gonna talk down here and yeah. Okay, crack the egg into the bowl. I also remember I did something stupid last time because I was probably tired then too. I used something sharp to poke the yolk and it's like, it's just a yolk, just squeeze it, it's gonna be fine. You don't need to do that. Okay, so basically you crack the egg, do it on the flat surface. If I make a mess, I'm gonna be really disappointed. Oh no. Making a mess, fucking it up. I'm probably not gonna save this egg to eat, like the egg white. Oh no, please don't crack. Okay, good. I brought out 2 eggs just in case I accidentally call it? Broke the yolk. Broke the yolk. All right, so now I'm gonna have to go inside. I should probably open the door just so I can push it open. Ah, I forgot about this. Struggle is real. Hello. I cracked my egg, so I just needed to go wash my hands. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna say okay 6,000 times. So then you take the thing, take a water bottle that's empty and you're not gonna drink out of ever again, and you squeeze it, you put it on top of the yolk, suck it in, and then you can separate the white from the yolk. I found that this is just the easiest way to separate it out and not, hopefully not crack it. And then I just have these containers from like takeout or whatever. And what you can do is move this out of the way. I'm just gonna let it plop into my hand. And then there's a little bit of egg white on it still, so I'll try not to get that in, but you can just like pinch it or however you want to do it, just pop it and let the yolk pour into the container. And you can just discard that. All right, so that part we did right the first time. So you have that. Looks a little watery. I'm gonna go wash my hands and I'll be right back. How do I do this? Can I do this upside down? Did I do it right? I don't know. I think so. All right, BRB. Alright, I'm back. Did you hear me pee? The bathroom is right on the other side of the wall, and I thought about that while I was in there. I was like, oh no. Oh well. Yay, I wrote BRB properly. Okay, so we have our egg yolk. So the mistake that we're not gonna make is, okay, so we gotta finish making this. That's our first error that we're going to avoid. We're gonna finish this, and then we're gonna move on to the pigment. So if you remember from last time, we take, I have some walnut oil. Oh, I see. That's broken and crusty. And I just take the end of the paintbrush and just dip it in. And then I just want, oops, shit, one single drop. And I put that in. I think she said one single drop. What did it say? Two drops. All right, let's get that second drop. Ah, what the fuck are you? Get out. That's not it. There we go. There we go. Drop number 2. I need to transfer this at some point into a different bottle that's not broken. Okay. And then it says a few drops of water, but I feel like you're not supposed to add a lot, and this was kind of a watery egg, so I'm not gonna add any. Such a rebel. And then the other thing was I stirred it really aggressively last time, and I didn't avoid that mistake. I just started stirring it, and it's making it kind of bubbly. So I'm just gonna gently stir it and pop those bubbles. To be fair, those bubbles did go away after a while, but it's like if I want to paint right now, I don't want to deal with those bubbles. These are also a little bit older eggs, and I just feel like they're a little bit waterier, and that's kind of the consistency that I think we want. I don't know if you can see that. It's like maybe it's a little thick. All right, I'll add a teeny bit of water. That's good. If anybody like really hates runny yolks, I'm sorry I'm showing this to you, but just think of it as paint. Just, that's what it's gonna be. Don't even think about it as egg yolk. All right, it might still be a little bit thick, but I'd rather it be thick, and I can always add water later. So now is when we want to divide it into, like, I want to do, that's the other thing I have to decide is what colors do I want this to be. Like, I think it's going to be pretty far removed from the fact that it's, like the image itself is going to be kind of far removed from the fact that it's an egg lecithin. So I think making it yellow or yellowish won't be that bad. But the fact that my board is blue and adding yellow to that, it's probably going to get kind of green looking. So maybe, is my white, okay, why don't I do, I wasn't going to do this, but why don't I do a wash kind of white over top of this, so maybe I can get this to be a little bit lighter. Like I said, I did sand it, but I don't really want to keep sanding it, and I just want to get to work on it, and I don't really care that much about it. Like being super anal retentive and then being a hypocrite and be like, oh yeah, I don't really care that much. Okay. Okay. I'll do a, yeah, and this way we can just experiment and see what working with this stuff is like, because it's been a while. So I'm just going to take some of my white watercolor and squeeze it in here. I don't know how much I'm going to need, and it said a 1-to-1 ratio. Medium with tube watercolors at about a 1-to-1 ratio, depending on the color and desired effect. If you see bubbles, there's too much water. If you want to make a white surface, either apply a thin coat of white egg oil emulsion or make the traditional egg or the rabbit skin glue gesso. So I don't know how much I really want to do, so I'm not going to go crazy using up all my white. And now I'll just drip a little bit. Should I bring you in closer? I have to like crouch down to see what the hell I'm seeing, or see what the hell is going on. Okay, so we'll just pour a little bit. It's like 1-to-1, right? Maybe. That makes so much more sense now, though. A 1-to-1 ratio. I'm like, why does this seem so wrong? I just put the tube paint right into that, and it's like, holy crap, what was I thinking? All right. I mean, that seems all right. It feels more liquidy than I remember. Like, I remember it being very gummy. All right, what can you see? You can see. Oh, it's pretty opaque. I'm gonna switch to a bigger brush in a second. I just figured since I stirred with this one like an idiot, I should probably clean it off on here and we can test it out. But yeah, that'll help lighten it up a bit. I mean, I suppose I could have also gone the darker route and done a black background, but I just picture egg white emulsion being more like watercolor, where you want to go into the dark colors later, but maybe, I don't know. I haven't worked with egg tempera, like I said, for a long time, and I didn't do more than just these 3 panels. So I don't have a whole lot of experience with it, so this is kind of like learning, and I'm probably going to make mistakes, so don't follow this like a tutorial. And I was thinking about it earlier, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to seem like an idiot on these streams, like not knowing what I'm doing. I need to research more, but at the same time, it's like if I spend all my time researching instead of just doing, it's like, just, who cares? Just do it. Learn by doing. I'm fine with that, and if anybody has an issue with it, nobody is. suck it. I'd rather learn by doing than read about it. And it's like, if I have a specific question, I'll look that up later. Yeah, now that I'm applying it, it definitely dries quickly on the surface, so it's sticky. Oops. I think you want to, like, what I'm doing right now, as I'm doing things, I'm, like, remembering things from class, like, oh, don't do that, don't do that. If you continue to scrape the brush across it after it's dry, it starts to kind of lift and scrape away, so you want to avoid doing that. Only work it while it's wet. That's really hard because it dries real quick. And I don't have a whole lot mixed up. I don't remember, it's been a long time since I bought watercolor because I don't love watercolor. I don't know how expensive this stuff is. I think watercolor is one of the less expensive mediums. You know, like oil paint, I'll buy that for like 20 bucks for a tube, but I don't remember. I'm assuming it's the same thing, like fancier, higher quality brands are going to be a lot more expensive, but I don't know this particular brand how expensive it is, or if it's on the cheaper side. Kind of wondering now that I'm seeing this dry if it's gonna make it worse. Like second guessing everything. Learn by doing. Doing great. I mean, I guess I could do always do a second coat. But yeah, I like already need more. I'm also gonna add a teeny bit of water. That should be fine. Really shouldn't paint or mix with your paintbrush, but oh, whatever. If I was mixing this in a flatter, on a flat palette, it might be easier to use a palette knife, but like I don't wanna. I'm being lazy tonight. Can you tell? See, right there, it was too dry, and I scraped my dry ass brush across it and it lifted. I wonder if a different brush would have been better for this. Something wider. Probably. It just dries so quickly. Okay. And we need some more. It's definitely splotchy. I don't know if I took my time more, it would be a little bit smoother. I could always, like I said, do another coat. I don't know that I will. I don't mind like rough backgrounds. I kind of like having texture and stuff, so I'll probably leave it. But I do wonder a little bit if it would be a little bit less splotchy if I had a wider brush, or if I was using a wider brush. This cup is narrow, so I'm not gonna, I don't know, I just feel like for the amount of paint that you use, it doesn't make sense to use a huge brush because it's just gonna soak up 90% of your paint and then waste it. It really does go a long way though, considering like I barely used any of that egg yolk, so maybe I'll try to work on this during the week so that way, well, see, here's the other thing. With the egg tempera, depending on how thick of coats you put on and how long it takes to dry, it could take either, you know, a few minutes before you can do the next layer, or like a week or so, depending on how thick you apply your paint. So I don't know, I'm thinking I'm putting this on pretty thin, so I should be able to like work with it tomorrow. But if I go and like start painting and like, let's say I paint red and then I start painting and it's coming out pink, then I know, you know, it's not dry yet, so I might have to wait until next week to pick up where I left off, unfortunately. So I don't know if this egg yolk mixture that we made up will last that long. You know, I might have to get those other boards done tomorrow and do a coat of them of white as that. Holy shit, talking is hard. I'm gonna have to do a coat of them. A coat of them. What are you even saying? Okay, I need to do Monday nights are not it. Okay, I might have to do a coat of white on those two boards in order to use up this egg yolk. Wow. That was a struggle. Don't come here for articulate conversation. You will not get that. Oh my God. See, it's like, it's so hard. Like it goes on smooth at first, and then as soon as you start messing with it, it gets all gloopy and sticky. I'm gonna go back up here because this is really thin. I think my first batch was just kind of watery. But yeah, that's pretty dry already. I'm the sort of person who really hates food waste, so I'm also thinking about like long-term working with egg tempera. Like, I don't love the idea of just like cracking eggs. Like even if I do crack the yolk and save the egg white, I don't know, like I wonder if there's a way to go to the grocery store and just get, I guess I could just sit there and I guess I could ask first, but like pick out all of the broken eggs that like they're broken or cracked or something that other people wouldn't want to buy. But then I wouldn't be able to eat the egg white. I definitely wouldn't want to eat just like a bunch of cracked eggs. I don't know. how opaque, I mean, this is going on pretty opaque, but I don't know, like, if I had done a black or dark blue, I guess maybe like a black coating on this, because, you know, like the gesso, if I had done that, how opaque the other paints will go on. Anyway, I think that's as good as I'm gonna get. Cool. Oh my god, my battery's almost dead. Alright, well, on the plus side, I'm like leaning on the painting. Cool! So, that's that. Obviously very splotchy, but it'll be a nicer surface to kind of start working on. And this lights really wash things out. Okay, so you see I used a notepad, or a sketch pad rather, that's about the same size as the thing. So I'm just gonna transfer, I'm not gonna transfer anything. I don't want pencil marks on this. I'm just gonna go in with paint, and hopefully I'll have like a vision in mind of how I want to depict those molecules, because like I said, I don't like the ball and stick depiction, but I don't want to overly complicate it and draw every single little atom. And I think I like, let me see what this looks like on camera. I think I like that layout. I suppose I could do it the other way. So it's, just hold it upside down. How does that look? Do we like it like that? And it'll look like, it looks like people running. I don't know, I kind of like it like that. I'm just staring at it. Wow, riveting content. So glad we tuned into your stream, Sarah, you weirdo. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's all I got for tonight. I don't really have anything more planned. I could doodle or something, but I don't feel like that's very interesting. Oh no. One of my other panels has a little bit of wood peeling off. But anyway, I guess I'll see you next week, and we'll do some more of this stuff. I don't want to make any promises that I'll have those other two boards like sanded and cleaned and primed by then, you know, like with the white coat, but maybe, let's see, tomorrow's Tuesday. I mean, maybe if I plan to do another, like, plan to do an unplanned stream, like maybe I'll come on tomorrow and do the same thing and just sand those and prime them. I'm not making any promises, but I might come back tomorrow and do a unplanned stream. Yeah. I got nothing else. Thanks for coming by, And if you watch these, I appreciate it. And if you watch them later on YouTube, thank you. Leave a like or leave a dislike, whichever, you know, be honest, I don't care. Yeah. I put up the very first of my live streams, which was like April something. I put the highlights from that up on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out. And then I'll be putting up the next, I think I have 2 or 3 since then. So you can avoid watching this all the way through. I feel like live streams are interesting when you're there watching it, but sometimes watching them back, it's like nobody wants that. Just give me the highlights. So that's what's going on YouTube. Yeah, I never know how to end these, so I'm just gonna say bye. And then struggle to like end the stream. Where the hell is the end button? Okay, there it is. Bye.